Live streaming is on.
Okay, guys, welcome. Sorry we're a little bit late today. It was a hectic morning. We're going to continue to look at doing some basic graphing. So yesterday I just gave you one quadrant. It'd be this one up here is the one we looked at yesterday. And this one, if you think about it, remember this is going to be the x-axis goes across, and this one's going to be the y. Okay, so x always goes across and y always goes up and down. So I want you to think a couple things here. So if you ever plot a number over in this one, it's going to be positive and positive. The x is going to be positive and the y is going to be positive. If we plot something, and I'm going to use colors, over in the red one, it's going to be, the x is going to be positive and the y is going to be negative. If we plot one in this lower left-hand one, use yellow, it's going to be, the x is going to be negative and the y is going to be negative. And if we plot one over in this one over here, it's going to be, the x is going to be positive and the y is going to be negative. Okay, now how do we know that? Well, if you look over in this one right here, you can see that on the x-axis, these numbers are all positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And also the y-axis is going to be positive, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So something over there, if I ask you to plot, and I'll just show you here. If I ask you to plot 3, 6, remember the first number is always the x and the second number is always the y. So we go over on the x-axis, the line that goes across, find 3, and then we go up to 6, and it'd be somewhere right in there. So anything in this top right axis is going to be, x is going to be positive and y is going to be positive. If we move over to the left one, if I ask you to plot like negative, we'll just use negative 2, that's going to be the x, and the y would be, we'll say 5. So we go over on the x-axis, because x is always the first, find negative 2, and then go up to 5. And that would be somewhere right around there. Okay. Now in this bottom left one, you're going to have both negatives. So if I ask you to plot, we'll say negative 2 and negative 4. Remember, the first number is always the x, and the second number is always the y. So what I would do is I go on the x-axis, find negative 2, and then come down negative 4, and that would be plotted right there. Okay, and in the bottom right one, we're going to have, it's going to be, x is going to be positive and y is going to be negative. Now, what that would look like if I asked you to do, how about something like, I want to get rid of this one down here so we're not confused. That would have gone up here. 3, 6. Like down here, I would ask you to plot 4 and say negative 5. Remember, the first number is the x and the second is the y. So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go down and find negative 5 on the y-axis. And that would go right there. Okay. So just try to remember, you guys, that the x-axis goes across. So right here, I'm going to put it in red, would be 0. That's 0. Anything to the left is going to be a negative number. Anything to the right is going to be a positive number, okay? And for the y-axis, anything above the red dot going up is going to be positive. and anything going down is going to be negative. So if you just can remember where that red dot is, that's 0, where everything is neutral. So if we move to the left on the x-axis, it's going to be negative. And if we move down on the y-axis, it's going to be negative. And if we move to the right on the x-axis, it's going to be positive. And if we move to the left, it's going to be negative. So positive, positive, negative, negative. Okay, let me redo this graph now so you get a better visual. So, and I'll do it in black. That's a 0. So anything over here moving left on the x-axis is going to be negative. So we would have like -1, -2, -3, -4. Let me draw this out a little further. -5, -6. And to the right, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And on the y-axis, it's the same kind of concept. When you move up, it's positive. When you move down, it's negative. So if we're moving up, these are all going to be positive numbers. So it's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we move down, it's going to be negative. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So something to think about. When you're in the top right quadrant, up in here, you're going to have positive for x and positive for y. So whenever you see like a number 2, 6, 3, 6, you know it's going to be in the upper right hand corner because both those values are positive because it's going to be going to the right on the x-axis and going up on the y-axis. So you're going to have two positive numbers. When you get over to the top left, the x is going to be negative and the y is going to be positive. Okay. Bottom left, both are going to be negative because you can see anything to the left of this black dot is negative and anything below it is going to be negative. Okay. And the last one we're going to have is this one over here where the x is going to be positive and the y is going to be negative because we're going down on the y-axis in this bottom right quadrant, but we're also going to the right on the x-axis. So it's really, 4 different quadrants. We're going to have a positive, positive in the upper right-hand corner in this one, in the yellow one, positive, positive. In the lower left-hand one, we're going to have negative, negative down here. And then in the upper left corner, this one up here, we're going to have negative for x, positive for y, and then the exact opposite down the bottom right-hand quadrant. We're going to have x is going to be positive and y is going to be negative. Okay. So really it's about, the only thing you guys have to really remember is the x-axis always goes across. No matter what, the x-axis goes across. So you can just think of it, this is the x-axis. That always goes across. And the y-axis always goes up and down. So when you see like a number of, let's say 4 and 7, the first number is always the x1. So the first one you're always going to find on the x-axis. And the second one you're going to find on the y-axis. Okay, no matter if it's positive or negative. So you could find like a -2, 4. -2, -4. Well, the first one's always going to be on the x-axis. In this case, -2 would be somewhere right here, and -4, so the dot would be right there. Remember, the first number is always the x number, and the second is the y. So you're going to look for the x going across, and the y, you're just looking for going up and down. Okay. We'll do some more on this tomorrow, but I will post some practice where you're just basically plotting the numbers based on the ordered pair. So you're going to get, like, for example, so if you get like 4 and 9, those are two positive numbers. Remember, that's going to be up in this right-hand quadrant. And just remember, first number always goes on X, second number always goes on Y. All right, you guys, have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye.